All right, we're back in session. The jurors are absent. The defendant and counsel are present. Ms. Holt, Mr. Zellinger, are y'all ready to call your next witness? Okay. Ask the jury to come in, please, Sheriff. Thank you.
Your Honor, while the sheriff's bringing in, we have a motion to file at
Take the jury to the vote.
We're back in session. Afternoon, folks. Gina, please show on the record that all jurors are present and we're ready to proceed. The state may call your next witness.
State calls Detective David Moore.
Okay. Officer, come around, be sworn, please. There is a Bible up there. Put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand, please.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you.
Detective, could you state your name for the court?
Detective David Moore.
How are you employed?
I'm a senior detective with the Raleigh Police Department.
And how long have you been with the Raleigh Police Department?
March 2nd will be 27 years.
And what's your current duty in the Raleigh Police Department?
I'm assigned to the Financial Crimes Unit.
Now, back in July of 2011, were you a detective with the Financial Crimes Unit back then?
Yes, sir.
And back then, were you approached by Detective Falk or someone investigating the disappearance of Laura Ackerson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall who you were approached by?
I don't know.
At some point during that time, though, were you asked to look into and investigate 2 cell phones that were seized from the defendants, Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how did you go about investigating those cell phones?
We have a device called a Cellbrite. It's the same device that's used by every cell phone company. If you buy a new phone and you want your contacts and everything swapped over, you take it to your local phone company and they hook it up to a small black box and they move everything over. We have the same device. The difference is that ours has software in it that allows you to formulate that data into a readable report.
Okay. And so were you presented with 2 cell phones in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you get the cell phone, how do you connect it to the Cellbrite? How do you know which connection to use?
The Cellbrite has menus on it. You choose the phone maker and then the phone model, and then the Cellbrite has probably 150 different tips that connect to it so that it can connect to every kind of phone. It tells you which tip to use. You plug the phone into the left side of the machine. You plug a output cable or a flash drive into the right side of the machine, and it transfers the data over.
And then what do you do with that data?
I take that data and import it into an Excel spreadsheet, which allows me to put it into a more readable format so that you can understand what you're looking at.
And do you sometimes color code parts of that spreadsheet to make it easier to discern incoming calls versus outgoing calls and those sorts of things?
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough, approach it with us.
You may.
Detective, I hand you has been marked as State's Exhibit 260A, or A260 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
It's a examination report detail come from the Cellbrite.
Okay. And drawing your attention to the first page of that document, stick around there. Does this detail that you conducted this examination on this phone?
Yes, sir.
And the phone that you examined, was it a Samsung cell phone?
Yes, sir.
Model SGH-A177?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall, did you do this in March of 2012?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then this information that you downloaded off the phone and put in the spreadsheet, did you then give that to Detective Falk and agents who are investigating this murder case?
Yes, sir.
And just looking through this briefly, does this appear to be the examination, the report that you produced?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time I moved to evidence states A260.
A
260.
260. Was that in reference to two phones or just one phone?
That's just for one.
Okay. Can you tell me which phone number that was?
I can. Detective, on there, does it reflect the number that phone is associated with?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and
It's-
what number is that?
I believe it's 917-744-7651.
Okay, let State's Exhibit A 260 be received in reference to that phone number.
And Your Honor, I published State's Exhibit A260 at this time.
You may.
Detective, does this report cover, does this include the information about the phone that you examined?
Yes, sir.
And here it lists your name in the Raleigh Police Department
Yes, sir.
and the case number for this case.
Yes, sir.
And then down here, does it have an entry for MSISDN?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
That's the phone number associated with the phone.
Okay, and I believe you just mentioned that it's the number that ends in 7651.
Yes, sir.
And so you just list the extraction date of when you took information off this phone,
Yes, sir.
and it tells you the connection type.
Yes.
Now, I show you the call log on here, which kind of hard to see. Now, did you code this call log to have different colors when it was an incoming call versus an outgoing call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the incoming calls, those appear to be green,
Yes, sir.
and the missed calls, those appear to be red.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, did you put these calls in chronological order?
Yes, sir. I try to sort them by date and time.
And when the phone spits this information out to you that you put in the spreadsheet, it gives you this data.
Yes.
And so it gives you the data of when the calls were logged and what time that was. That comes off of the phone.
Yes.
And this is all independent of phone records, which we've looked at previously.
This comes directly from the phone itself.
Okay. And I believe that phone will be produced in evidence shortly, but that actual physical phone is where this information came from.
Yes, sir.
And the phone records, those come from the phone company.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I guess starting out on this phone, the first line, I guess, or the oldest call on here, does that appear to be from July 15th of 2011
Yes, sir.
at 10:02 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
Does it appear to be an incoming call from this number that ends in 8581?
Yes, sir.
In this first column where there's a name column, I guess with this Samsung phone and phones in general, can people enter names so they don't have to remember phone numbers?
Yes, sir.
And so if you enter a name associated with the phone number, is that column where that name appears?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe if I go over a tab into contact, is this the association of the phone numbers and the names?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that would be inputted by the user, presumably?
Yes, sir.
And so, for instance, here at line 14, is there an entry that's titled to new number Laura?
Yes, sir.
And that's a phone number that ends in 1714?
That's correct.
And moving down a little bit further, there's a 917-744-8581 number and we've heard some testimony about that 8581 number. On this phone, it's recorded as G3.
Correct.
And again, you mentioned that this phone that we're looking at is the 7651 number.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So going back to the call log, the oldest call on here is an incoming call from that G3 at 10:02 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And after that, there appears to be a call from Shaster, and that's at 10:50 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And going back to the contacts, Shaster's phone number is listed as 919-880-8628.
Yes, sir.
And then for the rest of these incoming calls between July 15th at 10 p.m. and July 19th at 9:41 a.m., there's 3 other calls from G3 that are coming inbound into the 7651 phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then there's an incoming call from Karen at on July 16th at 4:13 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And jumping back over the contacts, that Karen number, does that have an area code of 281?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and that number is 281-232-3010?
That's correct.
And do you know off the top of your head where area code 281 is?
I do not.
Okay. So after that Karen phone number, on July 16th, there's another phone call from this G3 person at 8:42 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And 2 incoming calls from Shaster on July 17th, one at just past noon and one at 5:45 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And this record only reflects whether the call was incoming or missed. It doesn't reflect how long the call was, does it?
No, this particular phone doesn't show that data.
Okay. And after those 2 calls incoming from Shaster, the next phone call is July 17th at 8:21 p.m. from Elaney.
That's correct.
And then 2 more calls from Karen Sell and 1 more from Shaster.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you also put in some of these, you also put all these calls in chronologically, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So when you took this information out of the phone, you made all the missed calls, you colored those in red, and all the incoming calls were received, you colored those in green. Is that right?
I think that incoming is that's actually yellow. It's just that your computer's showing it on a different. I think the outgoing calls are green, and it's on my computer. It's a brighter yellow.
Okay. So what appears to be green here might be
Yes.
yellow, but, regardless, you coded those as a certain color when you got it spit out of the phone.
Yes, I put the coloring in there.
And then to organize these, you put them all in chronological order.
Right. I sorted them by date and time. Correct.
In between, on July 19th, there appears to be 3 missed calls from the Shaster person,
Yes, sir.
and then 1 received from Shaster,
That's correct.
and then a missed call from a 252 number,
Yes, sir.
and some other missed calls and completed calls to a number that ends in 1814.
Yes, sir.
A couple other missed calls, again, one from that 1814 number.
That's correct.
And then moving down lines 33 and 34 are a missed call and a received incoming call on July 20th at 11 a.m. from Shaster.
Yes, sir.
And there appears to be missed calls from a Candace Home and a Candace.
Yes, sir.
And then on July 20th, on July 20th, there's an outgoing call to a number that ends in 2211.
Yes, sir.
And then there's a couple more outgoing calls to a 201 number.
Yes, sir.
And then there's some incoming calls on July 20th at 7:26 p.m. from Shaster. And then there's some outgoing calls to Shaster on July 20th at 7:31 p.m.
That's correct.
And then moving on, throughout July 20th, there appear to be outgoing calls to Karen and Shaster and Karen Sell throughout the rest of that day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Did you find any phone calls that were from before July 15th?
No,
Okay. And you're not manipulating the data at all when you do one of these investigations. This Cellbrite just spits out everything that's on the phone. Is that accurate?
that's correct.
If I had a cell phone and I deleted entries out of there, would they show up on the Cellbrite?
No,
Okay. And if my phone only had a certain amount of memory and only kept the last 50 calls, would I have anything, would the Cellbrite reveal anything prior to that?
no.
Okay. Do you know why there's no calls that appear earlier than July 15th?
No, sir.
And then I believe we talked a little bit about the contacts. Is there another tab here for SMS?
Yes, sir.
And what is SMS?
It's a text message.
And did you get sent messages off of the cell phone and also messages that had been read that were inbound to the cell phone?
Yes.
Okay. And so this, fortunately both of these look kind of green, but these that we're looking at right here, lines 18 through 23, these are in the inbox. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so those were phone messages that were sent to this phone.
Correct.
And I guess in column column G, it indicates that these were read.
Correct.
Okay. Above this, there's sent messages that were sent outbound to a phone number. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And while the inbound messages appear to have a date and time associated with them, the outbound messages don't.
Correct.
Do you know why that is?
It's a function of the phone.
Okay. And just to be clear, these green ones, the lighter green, I guess that we're looking at right here, these are the outgoing messages. So those are messages sent from this phone to another phone.
Correct.
And looking at those, do there appear to be several that were sent to Laura 2, new number, and at a phone number that ends in 1714?
Yes, sir.
And Detective, if you could, is there any way for you to discern the order of these messages?
No, sir.
The way that they're arranged on the page right now, is that necessarily in chronological order?
No, sir.
Okay, so these are just arranged how the phone spit them out, basically.
That's correct.
Okay. Looking at these messages, the first message is to say, look, it's not that big a deal. You'll see them in 2 days. Don't stress out about it. There's still sleep now. What's your ETA?
Yes, sir.
And that's a message that was sent to this phone number that ends in 1714 that appears to be Laura's phone.
Correct.
Okay. And the next message says, no, Brat, they were fine Sunday.
Yes, sir.
The next one says, Grant hung up twice, said he doesn't want to talk.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This next message, could you read that for the jury? It's
Give-
probably in front of you as well as
Yeah, I can see it. Give me a buzz when they get up. Yes and no work fine. You don't know me or what I wanted at 3, neither do I. Besides, I'm asking, trusting you because you are RW, I'm assuming, with them. I don't presume to know anything about what goes on there or what they need in your environment, so I'll continue to be considerate and available when you feel it's appropriate. I'm used to being around them a lot more than you are, Laura. My whole life is them day in and out. The park, the mall, Monkey Joe's, meals, messes, and bath. That's the kind of parent I am. Thank you.
And this next text message, again, no date. Could you read that for the jury?
Laura, come on, exclamation point. It's after 3. The business day ends in 2 hours. I need to tell my attorney something. You're putting me in a real fucked up position here. Call me ASAP, exclamation point, and appears to be the number 3.
And this next message, message number 7.
Take a pic for me, please. Email it. Thanks. Can you at least give me an idea, like between 7 and 8, question mark? Do you have to work or something, question mark? And then again, the number 3.
And all these texts appear to end with this comma 3. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you know if that's something that was actually actually sent, or if that might just be an artifact that's left by the phone.
It could be like when people put a colon and a closed parentheses box to make a smiley face. It could be something like that, but the phone doesn't read it as that. It just reads it as the actual input.
Okay. And based on the context of that last message, it's probably unlikely that it was a smiley.
Right.
This next line number 7, could you read that one?
Take a pic for me, please. Email it, thanks. Can you at least give me an idea, question mark, like between 7 and 8, question mark, do you have to work or something, question mark.
And I think you might have read that.
I
one
did.
already. I apologize.
Mhm.
The next one, I think, reads, getting them dressed now, you're welcome. The next message reads, nap time. I promised him Joe's after nap, so I'll let him sleep as long as possible. And the next one reads, that's exactly where a sick baby should be, with 3 exclamation points.
Correct.
Okay, and these are all sent from this phone to Laura's phone, this 1714 number.
Yes, sir.
Could you read this one at the top?
Shay took the boys out for a few so we could get some moving stuff done. I called you to let you talk with them before they left because they'll probably be gone for a few hours. Just showing you I'm a man of my word. What's up with you? Your phone been off every time I call since yesterday. Hit me up as soon as you talk to John. I haven't said anything to anyone. And then it's got a @ sign.
Okay. And then could you read the last sent message?
Yeah, their mom will be here in an hour. I told her 3, she's a mess. I might just drop them off to avoid drama with her, getting them dressed now.
And that message was sent to this 5404 number that's listed as Monkey Joe's Lauren.
Yes, sir.
And then moving down to the messages that were received, these are actually have a date and time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this first one, I guess do you have to turn the phone on to download it using that Cellbrite system?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you were to turn on a phone that hadn't been used for a while, would it try to access the tower to try to basically pick up a signal?
Yes.
And so is this text message here, does it appear to be from AT&T?
Yes.
Okay. And it says AT&T free message, and it has something to do with the rate plan.
That's correct.
Okay. If we jump down to the next message, which appears to be from February 20th of 2011 at 4:27 p.m., and this is from Laura's number, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And could you read that one?
We had a PP accident and we were sidetracked. We will be a bit late to Sheets. Sorry for the inconvenience.
And then this March 1st one?
Could you please have more respect for the short intervals that I get with my children every day? I don't get to put them in bed or help them brush their
And then the next one appears to be a continuation.
right teeth or watch them play 5 days out of the week. Can you please just respect the 30 minutes per day that I get to be a mom? Could you just for a second?
And then are there more messages from March 1st of 2011 at 6:46 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Something other than what you are now. The few times that you guys have called, I have kept it quiet and non-distracting. I don't expect silent, just respectful of the short amount of time the boys and I get together, regardless of how trivial it may seem to, looks like why then you.
Is there another one from that same Laura number on March 16th?
Yes, sir.
Could you go ahead?
Not only is it rude to constantly have the TV on when I'm trying to talk with Grant and Gentle, but it makes you guys look bad to anyone who hears the, looks like the RE,
Okay. And then does it continue in the next text right there?
the recording of the call. Could you please give it a rest and work with me here? We have 2 children, not you, we. I will always be their mom, and it's better if they have a healthy relationship with me. Could you encourage that, please?
And that text you just read, it refers to you guys after when it's talking about trying to talk with Grant and Gentle.
Yes.
April 22nd, does appear to be a short text from Laura's number,
Yes, sir.
and what does it read?
No, sorry. Next time, do some planning ahead.
And another text that appears to be around 20 minutes later,
Yes, sir.
and what does that say?
Look, if you would like to change plans with me, just ask me. don't bribe me, talk with me like we are both adults with the capability of being reasonable.
Okay, does it continue in the next?
Yes, I'm telling you no because I want you to stop giving to get. Also, I have plans with and for them. If you had talked about this with me last week, or even by Monday, I would be much more likely to accommodate. Please just learn to be respectful of other people's time instead of manipulating it. Yeah.
And then there's another text message from May 15th,
Mhm.
again from that same Laura's phone number.
Yes, sir.
And what does that say?
No, I'm, excuse me. No, I'm not spending my day doing any of your bidding. You can see his eyes when you pick him up tomorrow. It doesn't look much different. I'll let you.
Could you read the next couple from Laura's number to this phone?
I apologize. I drank for the first time in years last night. Please forgive the text. Due to lies in your ex parte motion, it doesn't change the truth. I'll call you when they are ready.
And then the next one from June 1st of 2011.
Cut the shit, Grant. I know who you are. I'm not playing. I'll call you when they wake up.
And then there's actually a couple texts from July 13th, the afternoon of July 13th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And could you read this first one at 1:44 p.m. from Laura's number to the 7651 number?
This is why there are issues. Can you,
And then it appears to get cut off.
right.
And then could you read the next text that I guess appears 2 seconds later?
Ever you like between 4 and 5. Thank you for your pending response.
And actually, I guess this one's out of order. Is this text from July 13th at 12:56 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, could you read that one?
I can't be there until after my last appointment in Wilson. When do you think they will be up?
And then this one later on in the day at 2:58 p.m. What does that one say?
It's not a big deal to you. I told you.
And then this final one at 4:12 p.m. on July 13th. Could you read that?
Okay, I'm leaving the Wilson area now. I'll call when I get past the traffic. Where will you be in an hour or so?
Okay, so at 4:12, a text message comes from Laura's number that says, "I'll call when I get past the traffic. Where will you be at in an hour or so?"
That's correct.
Okay, and that was at 4:12 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can I approach a witness?
You may.
Detective, I'll show you with the mark for identification purposes. This is State's Exhibit A261. Is this the report that you did as part of this case for the other cell phone number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the other cell phone, I guess, that you received?
Yes, sir.
And is that for a number that ends in 8581?
Yes, sir.
917-744-8581?
Yes, sir.
And again, you performed this in April of 2012?
That's correct.
And you did the same thing with it where you gave it to Detective Falk and other investigators in this case?
Yes.
All right, this time I'd seek to enter State's Exhibit A261.
That'll be received.
Your Honor, may I publish that?
You may. You may.
And Detective, is this the report for the other phone number, the 917-744-8581?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's got, again, the details, the case number, your name, how you connected, and when you did this investigation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess moving on to the contacts, this one also had several contacts in it.
Yes, sir.
Does it have an entry for A1?
Yes, sir.
And that number is the 917-744-7651?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And going to the call log, again, did you code it in different colors to show which was incoming or which was outgoing?
Yes, I did.
And this phone, were you able to get any date or time information off of it?
No.
Okay. So you have no way of knowing the order of the outgoing calls, the incoming calls, and the missed calls?
No, sir. I don't.
it appears that there's some 26 calls in this call log, split among the outgoing, incoming, and missed. Do you know how many calls this phone saves in its memory?
No, sir, I don't.
And similarly, if you were to erase a call from the phone log inside the phone, if you were the operator, would it show up in the Cellbrite?
No, sir.
Okay. So I guess starting with these outgoing calls, none of these have any date and time.
Correct.
And it appears that there are outgoing calls to 7 entries being, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Storage Jeff A1, is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And then is there an entry for KPD?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there one for Glenn H and one for Mom?
Yes, sir.
And then Shay? And is
Yes,
that-
sir.
And is that number 919-880-8628?
Yes, it is.
And if you can look on the last phone that we looked at, is that the entry that in the other phone is written as Shaster?
Yes, sir, it's the same.
Okay. So the 8581 phone that we're looking at now has that number, the 919-880-8628. This phone has it in as Shay. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the 7651 number, that phone has it in as Shaster.
That's correct.
Okay. And this phone is 917-747-651. Is that accurate? I'm sorry, this phone is the 8581 number. Is that right?
Yes, sir. This is the
And
8581.
it has the other phone that we just looked at. It has that recorded as A1.
765. Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. And the 201 number is recorded in there as voicemail. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's at 201-310-3747.
That's correct.
There's 10 or so incoming calls. I guess there are 10 incoming calls. One from Doreen, one from Shay, and one from a number listed as Mom.
Yes, sir.
And that Mom number is listed as 252-268-6639.
That's correct.
Okay. And again, the other phone, the 7651 phone, the other phone has this phone recorded as G3, correct?
I believe it does, yes.
Okay. And obviously the phone doesn't have its own number recorded as something, correct?
Correct.
And then there's a few missed calls on this phone, one being from this Mom number, the 252 number.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the contacts, this has a list of contacts for this person. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Has a Sinelli's Eddie and a Sinelli's Justin in there.
Yes, sir.
Has an entry for Star Daycare.
Yes, sir.
And there's that entry for KPD.
Yes, sir.
And then, is this all the text messages that you were able to download off this phone?
No, sir.
Aaron Cockroach with us?
Okay.
These are all.
Okay, those are. Let me just show that to John real quick.
Okay.
Actually, just to clear that up, these messages that are attached to the back, those are the ones that you read through already, correct?
Yes, sir. They should be with this
They should
one.
be without that.
Yeah.
So let's take that away. Okay, now looking at the new amended A261, are these all the text messages that you recovered off that phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, these pages I just pulled out, those are from A260, which is the other phone.
Right, they should have,
These are
yeah.
all the ones that we just read through.
Yes, sir, they should have been with this packet.
These 4 text messages that are saved on this phone, can you explain why there's not more text messages on this phone?
No, sir, that's just what was there.
Okay. You don't know if they were deleted or if the phone's memory was affected. All you know is what this machine spits out from the Cellbrite system.
That's correct.
Okay. One of these text messages is one of these AT&T free messages about the person's rate plan.
Yes, sir.
And then there's 4 messages that are, I guess, still on this phone. One is from this individual identified as Laney,
Yes, sir.
and does it appear to just be an address?
It does.
Okay, and then there's another message, also dated May 30th as the previous one, and that appears to be another address.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And number 5 is one from June 28th, also an address. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Text message number 4, though, is from June 15th of 2011 at 6:37 p.m. And does that come from that number that we've been talking about earlier, that 1714 number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what does that message read?
Constant dictator, why do you have to act like this? How does this serve you?
Okay. Just think about, aside from downloading these phones and reading them here today, did you have any other role in the investigation of this homicide?
No, sir.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gaskins, do you have questions?
Just a few, and I may need Mr. Zellinger's help with putting the exhibits back on the board. Detective Moore, you analyzed 2 different cell phones, I take it, the 919-744 and 7651 and 917-744-8581.
Yes, sir.
You didn't analyze the text messages from the cell phone that belonged to Laura, did Laura Atkinson?
I just get the phone, sir. I don't know who they belong to. I identify the phone simply by the numbers.
Okay, so you didn't, these 2 numbers are the only ones that you found?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Could I get you to bring up on the screen, the list of contacts
Which phone?
for 7651? Let me ask you first about this particular cell phone. As I understood your testimony, for some reason, when you downloaded the telephone calls themselves, you were not able to bring up any telephone calls for July 13th, 2011 or July 14th, 2011.
If they're not shown there, no.
For some reason, what the phone gave you began on July 15th,
Yes, sir.
2011. And what we're looking at here is the contact page from that telephone number ending in 7651, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And the contact number that is contained in this telephone is for Laura is 252-548-1714, correct?
One of them, yes. It looks like Laura's listed there 3 times.
Does that indicate to you that she has 3 different telephone numbers, or do you,
I wouldn't know that.
or is she changing telephone?
Those are just the labels that were in the phone.
If you will scroll on down. A little further. recall if in the contacts page of this phone, if there is a listing for a telephone number for mom?
I don't recall. I can look.
Okay.
Yeah, Mom.
Go down one more, if you will, Mr. Gallagher. What we have here is mom, it says Mom Grants,
Yes, sir.
Grant's mother. The contact number for her that is in that cell phone is 252-268-6639. Am I reading it correctly?
Yes, sir.
If you'll go down a little bit slowly so I can keep up with you. A little more. You see a contact number here for Tina Hayes that's in this cell phone.
Yes, sir.
And that contact number is 252-933-5729.
That's correct.
A little more. Okay. Is that the end of the contact page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could we go over now to the cell phone page for this number? And that, over on the left-hand side, what the telephone is doing is picking up the contact from the contact page instead of the number. Am I right? When it says G3, G3 has a number assigned to it in the cell phone.
Yes, sir.
But it comes out on the report just as G3 or Karen or Mom or whatever.
Well, it has the number in column D. It shows you the name in column B and then the number associated with it in column D.
Oh, okay. So he does have both on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The very first call, number 19, is a call that was made on July 15th, 2011 at 10:02 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is an incoming call from the number ending with 7651 to the number ending 8581. Am I reading it correctly?
It appears to be incoming from 8581.
Okay, so I'm reading it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so telephone number 917-744-8581 is calling G3, which we know is telephone number 917-744-7651. Do I have it straight now? Or am I making any sense at all?
It appears to me that G3 is the label associated with the number listed in column D, and that's an incoming call made on the 15th of July at 10:02 p.m.
Okay, so if these two telephone numbers that you have analyzed are telephone numbers in the possession, one being in the possession of Grant Hayes and the other being in the possession of Amanda Hayes, am I correct in assuming that at 10:02 p.m. on July 15th, 2011, that they are not together at that moment in time?
Sir, that's an assumption I can't make. I can only tell you what the phone has in it. I have no idea where the phones are, just that calls were made and logged on the phone as they appear there.
Whoever was using the 8581 number was calling the other number at that moment in time, was it not?
That's the way it appears, yes.
Would it be safe to assume that they weren't calling each other across the room?
Sir, I don't know. I cannot intelligently answer that question. I don't know. I have no idea where the phones were when the calls were made.
You just know that the person with 8581 is calling the other phone.
Yes, sir.
I'm confused. Also,
I think I probably confused everybody.
well, looking at this chart as to that phone call, which number call who? Did 7651 call 8581 or the other way around?
I think the question's for you.
Yeah.
The only data showing there shows that on July 15th, 2011 at 10:02, there was an incoming call. The name associated with that would be G3, and the number would be 917-744-8581.
And it was incoming from G3 to the 7651 number?
It was incoming from someone labeled as G3 on this phone.
Okay.
Whoever has the phone can label anything. For instance, my wife in my phone is labeled as wifey, and that's how it comes in on my phone. But on her phone, she could call her phone anything she wants to. So this is simply the data pulled only from this phone, and the user, whoever that may be, input the name data into this phone so that the owner of this phone listed someone as G3 who had that number, and that number called her at that time.
Okay.
That number, the person with G3, let me be sure I've got it right, because I'm getting even more confused. The person with telephone number registered to G3 is calling the person with the number ending 8581.
No, sir.
No.
Backwards.
No, sir. We're dealing with phone number that ends in 7651.
Okay.
Okay. On July the 15th, 2011, the phone number ending in 7651 received a call from the number ending in 8581.
Okay.
In the phone listed as 7651, whoever owned that phone listed that number as belonging to G3.
Okay. So that number got a call from the number in 8581.
Correct.
Okay. I think I've got it. Thank you. So at that moment in time, would it be safe to assume that the two people with these two telephones are not in each other's presence?
Well, I mean, that's just a conclusion that you can draw, but I mean, do you know where these phones were? If they were side by side or 100 miles away?
Absolutely not.
All right, sustained.
Do you have a way of determining where the phones were when the calls were made, doing this triangulation that we heard about earlier?
I do not. No, sir. I don't do that.
Okay. Can you tell me from the records that you have for the telephone number assigned to G3, that being the one ending with 7651, if that phone has a voicemail feature attached to it?
I have no idea.
Can you tell me who what telephone number is assigned to G3?
917-744-8581.
again, because I thought that 8581 was receiving a telephone call from 7651.
No, sir. The phone doesn't list its own number. The records that you're looking at now are the records of the cell phone ending in 7651. It doesn't list its own number. Everything you see there either came into, was missed by, or went out from the phone number ending in 7651.
So the phone number, if I am understanding you correctly, that ends with 7651 had an incoming call from 8581
Correct.
at that particular moment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I got it. Could we go over to the other telephone number with the cell phone messages on it? Yeah, cell phone portion.
The other cell.
Other cell phone. 858. And this is 7448501, am I correct? This is 7448581, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what we're looking now is the text feature message.
Correct.
And this is all that you have on there that you were able to get off of that cell phone for the text feature.
Correct.
Could we go to the cell phone feature? Cell phone. Now, this is the one, again, we're looking at the one that ends with 8581 now.
Correct.
And this one is the one that doesn't tell you the date and time or the duration of the phone call.
Correct.
Is what we're looking at just some record of the phone calls without reference to when and where they were made?
Yes, it is.
Do you see on number 10 that associated with this cell phone is a voicemail number of 201-310-3747?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what that means is that, or let me ask you if that's what it means. Does that mean that the cell phone company has assigned that voicemail number to the cell phone as a feature of the cell phone?
I don't know that. There are several different kinds of voicemail. It means that this phone made an outgoing call to that number, and within this phone, that number is labeled as voicemail.
Is that something that you commonly see with cell phones, a voicemail feature that comes with the cell phone, just like the text feature?
Yes.
Just for clarification, do you know how old these phones were?
No, sir, I don't. If memory serves me, they were older phones. This one is listed as a Motorola Razr, which is a fairly old phone.
Okay.
Ma'am, moment on. on line 10 is a number that has been programmed into the telephone as the voicemail contact.
Yes, sir, it's been labeled as voicemail.
Thank you, sir. I think that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. You can stand down. Okay, next witness.
State calls Detective Zeke Morse.
Okay.
Or coverage.
You may. Tell the Bible, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the information you give the court be the truth, the whole truth, not but the truth, so help you God?
I will.
Okay. Have a seat. Thank you. You may proceed.
Detective, could you state your name for the jury?
Zeke Morse, Zekemorse.
And how are you employed?
I'm a detective with the Raleigh Police Department,
How long have you been with the Raleigh Police Department?
18 years.
And currently, what's your role as a detective with the police department?
I'm a detective assigned to one of the 2 homicide units
And how long have you been a homicide detective?
since June of 2007.
At some point back in the summer of 2011, did you become involved in a homicide case involving Amanda and Grant Hayes?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember the date when you first became involved?
On July 24th, approximately 2:30 in the afternoon.
And what happened that afternoon?
When I came to work, I met with Detective Falk, Detective Hall, and my sergeant at the time, Sergeant Privatelli, and I was briefed on the currently ongoing investigation.
And after you spoke with them, did you learn what had happened, I guess, in the days and week prior in this missing persons case?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, on the afternoon of July 24th, I guess at that point, was it still a missing persons case?
Yes, sir.
Later that night, did it then become a homicide case?
Yes, sir.
And the next day, what did you do as the next part of your investigation?
Approximately 1:45 in the morning, I went to Kinston with Detective Olette with a search warrant.
And where in Kinston did you go?
1505 Holman Street in Kinston, North Carolina.
And why did you go to 1505 Holman Street?
Detective Falk had obtained a search warrant for the residence where Grant and Amanda Hayes were arrested at.
So sometime that early morning of July 25th or late July 24th, Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes were arrested at that house.
Yes, sir.
And did you know who also lived there at that house?
Yes, sir.
And who was that?
Patsy and Grant Hayes Sr.
And how are those folks related to Grant Hayes?
They identified themselves as the parents of Grant Hayes.
And when you showed up at that house in Kinston, were they there?
They were.
And did you execute the search warrant that day?
Yes, sir.
You're our coverage witness.
You may.
show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit A382 through A399. Show you those pictures.
Yes, sir.
And Eric Pepper's list.
You may.
State's Exhibits A400 through A402.
Yes, sir.
Are these all photographs of the Hayes household as you found it that day on July 25th?
Yes, sir.
And as part of your executing a search warrant, what's the first thing that you do when you enter the house?
First, we see who's in the home, and we remove them from the home for our safety. And then we will take a visual examination of the home, and we'll assign specific rooms to detectives that are on scene that will be searching the home.
And do folks photograph the scene before you searched it?
We also photograph before we move things around. Yes, sir.
And these pictures, State's Exhibit 382 through A382 through A402, they depict that home in Kinston as you found it that day?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move State's Exhibit A382 through A402 into evidence at this time.
Let me receive.
Your Honor, may I publish those?
You may.
Your Honor, may I purchase the witness one more time?
You may.
And A381, is that another item that you found in that home?
Yes, sir.
And is that a depiction of that item?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move to enter State's Exhibit A381 at this time.
Let me receive.
Your Honor, may I publish these at this time?
You may.
Detective, here we are looking at State's Exhibit A382. When you first went to search this home, could you briefly describe what the home looked like?
It is a two-story home in a suburban area of downtown Kinston.
Okay. And did you have another detective there with you searching that home?
Yes, Detective Olette.
And it was your information that Grant and Amanda Hayes had been in this home the days prior to this?
Correct. It was my understanding that they were arrested at this residence.
State's Exhibit A382 that we're looking at here, does this appear to be, what do we see in this picture?
This is in the office, or the room that I labeled the office of the home, the first floor. This is a workstation, a desk with a computer and 2 monitors.
And I show you State's Exhibit A383. What are we looking at in this picture?
The back of the desktop, or the
And
computer we just saw.
Why do you take a picture of that?
It is departmental policy when seizing computers to document the back of the computer to illustrate how the computer was set up with various accessories.
I'll show you A384. Is this the kitchen of
This
the
would be
home?
the kitchen area of the home on the first floor. Yes, sir.
And did you find anything that helped your investigation in the kitchen?
No, sir.
When you were in this home, were the children present?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know where they had gone at that point?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll show you State's Exhibit A385. Which room is this?
This is a bedroom that's off from the kitchen on the first floor.
Did that room have a, I'll show you State's Exhibit 386. Did you find some things in that room that you seized?
Yes, sir. Specifically those 2 coolers that are depicted there in the photo.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 387. Are those the 2 coolers?
Correct. Just the same 2 coolers, just a different angle.
I'll show you State's Exhibit A388. Are these some items in that same room?
Correct. That's an end table next to the bed.
And what did you find there on that end table?
There's a wallet,
And who did that belong to?
Grant Hayes.
Did you go through that?
I did.
Did you find anything of evidentiary value inside the wallet?
No, sir.
Shady States Exhibit 389. What is this?
It is a notebook with a note that I found on the computer desk.
Shady States Exhibit 390. Is that notebook?
Yes, sir.
And I zoom in a little bit. What did that note on that notebook appear to say?
It appeared to be a self-written custody agreement, giving custody of the children to his parents.
And this pencil is covering that date, but that appeared to be 7/24 of 2011.
Yes, sir.
And did you find, like, this appears to be some sort of car registration right here?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And was that to that vehicle, the Durango?
I don't remember specifically.
Shady States Exhibit 391. What does this depict?
That's from the second floor looking down the stairwell to the first floor.
And here's States Exhibit State A392. What room is this?
That's an upstairs room.
And did you search the upstairs?
I did not.
Okay. Who searched that area?
Detective Olette.
And this is States Exhibit A393. Detective Willett searched this room?
Correct.
And did he show you what he had recovered from that room?
Yes, sir.
This is States A394. What is this that was discovered?
There was an envelope in a chair that had some money and other documents in there.
I guess this is A395. This appears to be a closer view of that envelope.
Yes, sir.
And States A396. Are these more materials that you found in that house?
Yes, sir.
And were these all in that envelope, do you recall?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it appears to be some rings, and what else did you find?
Jewelry, a ATM card with the PIN number, a check, and cash.
And did it appear that that had been left there for Grant's parents?
Yes, sir.
She states Exhibit A397. Is that just a closer view of that ring and jewelry?
Yes, sir.
A398. Does that appear to be a debit card with a PIN number written on it?
Correct. That's the debit card with the PIN number.
States Exhibit A399. What does that appear to be?
That is a check written to Amanda Hayes from Candace Rowland.
Did you learn who Candace Rowland is?
I don't recall right now.
Does it appear to be someone from Katy, Texas?
Correct.
Okay. In State Exhibit A400, does that appear to be the a sort of bank card belonging to Grant Hayes?
Yes, sir.
In State Exhibit 401, what is that? Is that an envelope that was recovered?
Correct. That was an envelope that was recovered. That was upstairs as well. Yes, sir.
And did you see, is it because it had some writing on it?
Had some numbers. Yes, sir.
And why do you take pictures and seize items like this?
At the time, we just don't know what the relevance of the individual items are because it was in that envelope. We seized it as well.
I'll show you States Exhibit A402. Is this another room in that house?
Correct. This is on the second floor.
And did you search that room?
I did not. Detective Olette did.
Did Detective Willett show you anything of any evidentiary value coming from that room?
No, sir.
Now, I'll show you States Exhibit A381. Is this an item that Detective Willett recovered from the upstairs of that house?
Yes, sir.
And did you seize this item?
Yes, sir.
And zooming in on it, what did this item appear to be to you?
It appears to be a prepared speech for maybe a press release or something.
Okay. And could you read it best you could?
Introduce Grant Hayes, Amanda, father of Laura Ackerson, children Grant and Gentle Hayes. Like I told my mom, she was supposed to meet me here
that appear to be her?
Her, maybe, yeah. Meet her 7-1, 5 to 11. I called my mom to get in touch with her, and she wouldn't or couldn't. If anyone has seen Laura, please call the police department. And Laura, Grant, and Gentle ask for you if you're
Does that appear to be listening?
listening to this broadcast, please call us. I've spoken to, not sure what it's
Looks
supposed
like
to
it
be.
starts with a D.
D, it definitely starts with a D. As soon as I learned of this situation.
And did Detective Willett sees that item?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that conclude your search in that house?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else that you acquired that had any evidentiary value?
No, sir.
Eric, our first clerk.
All right.
Detective, I hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit A405. Do you recognize this item?
I do.
And how is it that you recognize it?
It is labeled with an evidence tag that I filled out. It has the case number, the crime type being homicide, the complaint Laura Ackerson. It's my writing.
And is this one of those coolers that you saw in the Kinston house that belonged to Grant Hayes' parents?
Yes, sir.
And did you seize this that day back on July 25th or 2011?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time I move to enter State's Exhibit A405 in evidence.
That'll be received.
Detective, you just transfer this to the jury. Does this appear to be an igloo cooler?
It is
And does it say what size it is?
a 69 can capacity or 50 quart capacity.
And looking inside, did you find anything in there?
It's fairly clean. Looks new. It's got some blue scrapings on the inside of it.
Detective, I hand you this and mark this. State's Exhibit A404, do you recognize this?
I do.
How is it that you recognize that?
Again, it has a Raleigh Police evidence tag on it. My handwriting has the unique case number assigned to this case.
And is this one of the coolers that you seized that day in Kinston?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move State's Exhibit 404A in evidence.
That'll be received.
I'm sorry, A404.
A404, that'll be received.
Detective, you could show this item to the jury as well. Does it indicate what the capacity of this cooler?
Same size as the other one. It's a 50 or 60 quart, excuse me. It's a little bit larger.
And it says max cold.
Correct.
And open it up.
Again, it appears to be fairly new. It has the same blue type of markings, scrapings on the inside.
searched that house in Kinston, what was the next part of your investigation?
I met with Patsy and Grant Hayes Sr. and spoke to them briefly.
And did you speak with them?
I did.
After you spoke with them, what was the next part of your investigation?
I responded back to Atlantic Avenue here in Raleigh, the police station, and assisted with storing the evidence that we collected from Kinston.
Later that day, did you meet with CCBI agent Mike Galloway?
I did.
And why did you meet with him?
The Dodge Durango that Amant and Granite Hayes were driving had been seized and stored earlier under the authority of a search warrant.
And did you help Agent Galloway search that vehicle?
I did.
And where did that search occur?
At CCBI, they have a garage, single bay garage.
And that garage presumably is closed off to the outside world, it's sealed?
Correct.
Okay. And why do you do it inside a garage?
It's a controlled environment, protects us from the weather, contamination from general public.
And when you did that search, what's the first thing that you and Agent Galloway did before you searched the car?
Agent Galloway photographed the vehicle.
Okay. And then when you searched the vehicle, did you put on gloves or did you take any precautions?
Yes, sir.
And what were those precautions?
To search it, I'm wearing gloves. Agent Galloway had photographed and had used various chemicals to identify forensic evidence, so it's contaminated with this wet substance, this liquid he's using. So I'm using gloves to protect my hands as well, yes.
Okay. So he uses those chemicals to try to see if there's any latent bodily fluids or any sort of chemicals in the car, and after that's done, that's when you then search it?
Correct.
And do you recall where you first began searching the vehicle?
No, sir.
Do you have a normal way that you do it?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, coverage witness.
You may.
Marked for identification purposes, States Exhibit A265 through A271. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir.
And what are those pictures of?
They are pictures of the Dodge Durango that we searched.
And that was part of the search you did?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, coverage clerk.
You may.
I hand you the States Exhibit A272 through A275. Do you recognize those pictures?
Yes, sir.
And are those more pictures of the search of the Durango?
Yes, sir.
Are they a fair and accurate depiction of how that Durango appeared that day when y'all were searching it?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I would move to enter States Exhibit A265 through A273. I move to enter States Exhibit A265 through A271 and A272 through A275.
All right, so I'll let 265 through 275 be received.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I publish these at this time?
You may.
Just actually, is this the Durangos that appeared in that CCBI bay?
Yes, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A266. On the back of that Durango, what did you find?
A trailer hitch with the U-Haul receiver.
I show you State's Exhibit A267. Is that a closer up view of that hitch?
Yes, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A268. Is that again the Durango inside that CCBI garage?
Yes, sir.
Does that appear to be the, I guess, passenger side?
Yes, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A269. Is that the driver's side?
Yes, sir.
On the exterior of this vehicle, did you notice anything awry or anything noticeable about the outside of the vehicle?
No, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A270. Is that the driver's side door?
Yes, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A271. Is that the center console?
Yes, sir.
And this thing that appears in the bottom left corner of this, what is that?
That is a white biohazard suit.
Okay. And did you find that white biohazard suit in the car when you first searched it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why was it there?
It is my understanding that
Objection.
Overrule. Go ahead.
it is my understanding, well, I know for a fact that certain tow trucks cannot get into that bay because that bay is on the second floor of a parking deck. And it's my understanding that when this vehicle was towed, it could not get in the parking deck. And Detective Falk had to drive this vehicle into that bay, and he used this biohazard suit to protect himself as well as the interior of that vehicle from any contamination.
After this vehicle was searched, what happened to it?
It stayed right there.
Okay. And then eventually, did it move from that spot?
Yes, sir.
And where did it go after the search was completed?
When when the search was completed, I drove the vehicle from CCBI to the Raleigh police station, and I used that same suit.
Okay. And why do you use a biohazard suit?
At this point, CCBI had sprayed the entire interior of this car looking for forensic evidence, and it's wet, it's contaminated with chemicals, and to protect my clothing, I wore the suit.
Similarly, have you transported vehicles before CCBI assessed them?
Yes, sir.
And when you do that, what precautions do you take?
We wear this biohazard suit to prevent contamination of anything that might be inside that vehicle, as well as to protect ourselves from anything that might be in that vehicle.
Show you State's Exhibit A272. Is this another view of that center console of the Durango?
Yes, sir.
Are there various items in the center console?
Yes, sir.
And does there appear to be a receipt right there from Kinston, North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Does it appear to say Wendy's?
Wendy's, yes, sir.
Did you also find something in the space between the passenger seat and the driver's seat?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
It's a child custody psychological review.
I show you State's Exhibit A273. Is that a view of the passenger side of that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Does it appear to have some sort of DVD in the door?
Yes, sir.
And where if you can tell from this angle, could you tell where you found that evaluation?
That evaluation is stuck down on the side of that passenger seat between the center console and the left-hand side of the passenger seat.
I'll show you State's Exhibit A274. I think there's a laser pointer up there possibly. Could you point out to the jury where you found that child custody?
It is right here. It's in that white envelope.
This item that's in the foreground right here, do you recall what that was?
No, sir.
Shady States Exhibit A275. Is that the back seat of that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Did you find anything of any evidentiary value in the back seat or trunk of that vehicle?
No, sir.
And with respect to that center console, did you search that center console of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Did you find anything of evidentiary value in the center console of the vehicle?
No, sir.
Can I approach the witness?
You may.
Detective, I had just been marked for identification purposes. The States Exhibit A406. Is this what you found in between the center console and the passenger seat in that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does it have a case number and it's marked with your handwriting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does it appear to be a copy of a child custody evaluation report and a case entitled Hayes versus Ackerson
Yes, sir.
in Lenore County Court?
Yes, sir.
And additionally, does it appear to have some sort of stain on
Some
the outside
stains.
of it?
Yes, sir.
Is this the document that you found in that Durango?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I would seek to enter State's Exhibit A406.
Let A406 be received.
And Detective, without going into too much of the content about this, this is the child custody evaluation report between Grant Hayes and Laura Ackerson.
Correct.
And in the back of this, there's some invoices that appear to be about that litigation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This was in between the passenger seat and the console of that car?
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall where was one of the seats in that car pulled up close to the steering wheel, or was the passenger seat pulled up close, or could you tell?
I didn't make note of it.
Okay. After you finished your investigation of this Durango and seized that child custody evaluation, well, let me ask you, if you could open that custody evaluation, without going too much into the content, does it appear to be written on in several places?
Yes, sir.
And there's X's and circles and things like that throughout the document?
Yes, sir.
After you finished searching the Durango, what was the next part of your investigation?
Myself and Detective Hall and Falk, as well as Agent Mike Galloway, executed a search warrant at a storage facility.
And what storage facility was that?
It was a storage facility that had been identified as being rented by Grant and Amanda Hayes.
And that was a storage facility that, did Shay give you that information? Shay Elmer gave that information to detectives?
I'm not sure where that information had come from.
Yes, you may.
Second I need you has been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit A 262 through 264. Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
And are those pictures of the storage facility?
Yes, sir.
And did you attempt to search that storage facility?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I believe to enter State's Exhibit A 263 through A 264.
None be received.
First witness.
You may.
Detective, when you searched that storage facility, were you looking, what were you looking for?
Any items of evidentiary value to the case at this point?
I'll show you State's Exhibit A 262. Is that the sign for that self-storage facility?
Yes, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A 263. Is that the specific locker that was assigned to Amanda and Grant Hayes?
Yes, sir.
I show you State's Exhibit A 264. Is that the locker as you found it?
That is how we found it. Yes, sir.
Was there anything of any evidentiary value located within that locker?
No, sir.
Was there a void, I guess, in the middle and on the side of that locker? Was there more space in there to put more furniture or items in there?
Yes, sir.
After you searched that storage facility, what did you do next?
Another search warrant was executed at the apartment of Amanda and Grant Hayes. I assisted that.
Okay. And what day was that on?
That was on July 25th, approximately 7:05 in the evening.
And do you recall what room you searched?
No, sir.
Okay. And anything that was found or any information that you get, is that fed back to the lead detective in the case?
Correct.
And that was Detective Jerry Paul?
Correct.
At some point on the morning of July 26th, how did you continue your investigation?
At this point, body parts were being found in Texas.
And to identify the body, at that point, only portions of Laura's torso had been found. Is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, did you become aware that her head had been found?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do after learning that Laura's head had been found?
I started to call dentist offices in Kinston.
And for what purpose?
Laura is from Kinston, and I was trying to locate dental records for identification purposes.
And were you able to get those dental records?
I was.
And did you forward those on to folks in Texas so that she could be identified?
They were forwarded on, yes, sir.
Okay. As part of this investigation, did you also look into some financial records?
I did.
And who did you consult to get those financial records?
American Express, Chase Bank, Citibank, and the Bank of Nova Scotia.
And did you send off search warrants to get material from those banks?
I did.
Did you also continue your investigation by coming up with a photo lineup for Detective Latour, who at that time was down in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And those photo lineups are so folks could identify either Grant or Amanda Hayes in the lineup?
Correct.
Okay. On July 27th, did you have occasion to go back again to the apartment building where Grant and Amanda lived?
I did.
And what was that purpose?
We were continuing to canvass, speaking to neighbors, and also distributing flyers, seeking information.
And do you recall what building you did that for?
The building that Grant and Amanda Hayes lived in.
And were you part of a team that covered the entire building?
Yes, sir.
So I guess as you sit there today, are you confident that every single person that was living in that building back in July of 2011 was at least talked to by the Raleigh Police Department?
Yes, sir.
If someone wasn't home, did you have them call you?
We will either leave our card or we'll revisit. Yes, sir.
Okay. But you make sure that you knock on every door?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And out of that canvas, was there any information that was helpful to your investigation at all?
Nothing that I obtained.
And you're looking for any evidentiary value from comments from folks, like if they saw something or heard something?
Correct.
Okay. And you personally didn't hear from anyone anything that furthered your investigation?
Correct.
On July 28th, did you look into further information about Laura Ackerson's financial records?
I did.
And did you learn that she had an account with BB&T?
I did.
And why did you look into Laura's financial transactions?
To see if there was any activity with the account after her disappearance.
And what was the last transactions that occurred?
Last two transactions on the account occurred July 4th and July 21st, 2011.
And to clarify, that July 21st account, was that a joint account between Laura and Siobhan?
It is.
And was that business related?
Yes, sir.
Did you also continue your investigation in doing search warrants to whatever financial providers were necessary to further your investigation?
I'm sorry?
Did you keep sending search warrants to folks to help out other detectives who were taking up the lead in this case?
I did.
Okay. At some point on July 29th, did you go to Capitol Ford?
I did.
And what was the purpose that you went to Capitol Ford?
Laura Ackerson owned a 2006 Ford Focus, and I met with a technician at Ford to consult with them about anything in the vehicle that might help us with where it had been, GPS, that type of stuff.
And could you explain to the jury how some vehicles might have GPS or what you found in your experience that can be helpful from an automotive standpoint?
Most newer vehicles have what's referred to as the black box. It helps us with data when the vehicle's involved in a collision, record speed, that type of stuff. So I was simply inquiring if this box was in this vehicle and if it might contain any data that might help us.
And based on the information that you received from Capitol Ford, did that help your investigation at all?
No, sir.
Do you know if her vehicle had one of those black boxes or GPS?
I don't know if it did or not, but I was told that the data is not collected unless the airbags are deployed.
Okay. So explain that further. Unless the airbags actually come out, it's not saving
Correct.
data from the car.
Correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gaskins, you have questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Detective Moore.
Yes, sir.
Let me talk to you first, if I may, about the canvas that you talked about that was done at the Woodfield Glen Department.
Yes, sir.
That's where Bella Park Trail is located, where Amanda and Grant Hayes live, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many people how many Raleigh police officers participated in that canvas?
Numerous. As far as detectives, there are 2 units of 5 detectives, and I am aware of both units participating in the canvas of that building as well as the community itself. So that would be at least 10 detectives, plus any additional uniform officers that assist us with the initial investigation.
And what you're physically doing, you or others, you're knocking on every door, aren't
Yes, sir.
you? And it's fairly big complex, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me how many apartments, or do you know?
I don't know how many apartments are out there, no, sir.
So it does take a lot of people to conduct an extensive canvas of that nature, doesn't it?
Correct. Over several visits, yes, sir.
And the idea is to find out if there's any single person in any one of these apartments or any vehicle who happens to be stopping at one of these apartments, to find out if that person has any information about what has happened, correct?
Correct.
Did you have a single person report to you that they had heard anyone in the apartment where Amanda and Grant lived? Did anybody report to you hearing a skill saw running on the night of July 13, 2011?
Of the people that I spoke to, no.
Did anyone report anything unusual at that apartment on the night of July 13, 2011?
Again, of the people that I spoke to, no.
And did anyone that helped you in your canvas report to you that they had found out anything unusual?
I really can't answer that because I came into the investigation later. And there's just so many people involved, detectives and officers. I really can't answer that honestly.
And that's one of the problems that you guys encounter in a major investigation, isn't it? You have a lot of people involved in this case, you have people involved in Raleigh, you have people involved in Wilson, you have people involved in Kinston, you have people involved in Texas. You have a lot of different people who are assigned very specific chores, correct?
Yes, sir.
And very often, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Would that be fair to say?
There are times when different personnel aren't aware of what the other people are doing, yes, sir.
And that's because and I'm not being critical of you or anyone else with the Raleigh Police Department, because what I'm getting at, if you can tell me, is that you have all of these people scattered in a lot of different places looking at bits and pieces of information, correct?
Correct.
And each one of these people either may gather something that's significant or may not.
Correct.
And if you've got 100 people, for example, doing 100 different things in 100 different locations, it's very difficult to assimilate all that information, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's not unusual to have someone find out something that's important in Texas and that not get related to the guys in Raleigh very quickly or possibly ever, correct?
No. We have supervisors that are managing the personnel. We have a lead detective that is gathering this information and compiling it. So even though there might be several people involved, you are still reporting it to a supervisor who's managing that group of personnel.
Right, I understand. And that supervisor, whoever it might be, in whatever investigation you might be involved in, is receiving a lot of different information from a lot of different sources at the same time. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's difficult to manage that much material, isn't
It can be.
it? In this case alone, you may know or you may not know, are you aware that there are more than 10,000 pages of documents that exist?
I'm not aware of how much exists. I'm aware it's quite a bit.
And maybe as many as 100 or 200 videotapes taken from different locations.
Again, I'm not aware of the exact number. I know security videos obtained from various locations. Yes, sir.
It's just difficult to manage a case with that much material, isn't it?
I guess it would really depend on the person who's managing it. I mean, there's a lot coming in, absolutely.
Well, things can be overlooked, can't they?
Feasible? Yes, sir.
When you went to Kinston, you searched the parents' house, Grant's parents' house with a search warrant.
Yes, sir.
I believe two of the things that you found were these coolers. May I approach John?
You may.
Not Detective Morse, the coolers. Detective Morse, I've rolled them, the two coolers around where I think you can see them. Maybe you have to lean forward to look over the rail. Both of those coolers have wheels on them, don't
Yes, sir.
they? And they have handles on them, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Now, the purpose that a cooler company puts wheels and handles on a cooler, it makes it easy for one person to move whatever is in that cooler, doesn't it?
Correct.
In other words, you don't have to have one person lifting one end and one lifting the other end.
Right.
You just lift the handle and you roll it just like we roll luggage through the airport.
Correct.
While you were searching the house in Kinston, do you also recall recovering some men's gray underwear? I believe if you look at Exhibit 386, you may see what I'm talking about, or 387 maybe.
I'm sorry. Right here. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't know where they went.
I don't recall recovering underwear.
May I approach with John?
All right.
Do you see right here on top of the cooler?
Yes, sir.
Is that what appears to be men's gray underwear?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that underwear, just like the underwear that appear in that photograph, later showed up in a trash dumpster at Bella Park Trail?
No, sir.
Did you take part in a search of a trash dumpster?
I did.
That was a search in which the dumpster was all the trash was dumped out in some warehouse, wasn't it?
Correct.
And you don't remember seeing the photograph of the underwear?
I see it in the Kinston house photograph. Yes.
Do you recall seeing it either in a photograph taken of the trash in the dumpster or in the dumpster itself?
No, sir.
Okay. I believe that while you were searching the house in Kinston, you found a credit card that belonged to Grant Hayes, did you not?
Correct.
The last 4 digits of that card, if I could recall correctly, and you may pull the photograph to be sure that I'm right, are 4655.
Correct.
Now, and of course, the entire credit card appears in the photograph, doesn't it?
It does.
Having that number allows you or anyone else who obtains access to his credit card information to track him, doesn't it?
Quite possibly, yes, sir.
In other words, if he makes a purchase at a particular store, it shows up on his credit card, doesn't it?
Correct.
Now, what doesn't show up on that credit card are his cash purchases, right? Only the credit card purchases.
I would think that all your transactions would show up.
Well, not if you pay cash.
Oh, not to pay cash. I'm sorry. I thought you meant, okay. Yeah. I'm thinking about cash advance, yes.
I may not have been clear. But if you charge anything to your credit card, you can be tracked using that credit card number.
Correct.
In fact, the Raleigh Police Department, I don't know, did you participate in the efforts to track Grant's movements using his credit card?
I sought for and obtained those search warrants for those various banks and sent them off, yes, sir.
Which bank did you send them to?
American Express, Chase Bank, Citibank, and Bank of Nova Scotia.
You mentioned earlier that you had obtained records from those sources. Did you obtain records solely for Grant Hayes from those sources? Or did you also obtain financial information for Amanda Hayes?
Also of Amanda Hayes, yes.
We'll get back to that in a little
Mhm.
bit. Let me ask you, when I was calling that card a credit card, is it actually a debit card?
It's a debit card, yes, sir.
Which, the way a debit card works, and probably everybody here knows, that you have a bank account and you're able to charge things on your bank account using your debit card.
Correct. It withdraws from your balance in your local checking
It's
account.
the new electronic way of charging things without writing a check, isn't it?
Correct.
You indicated that you're in the financial crimes division,
No, I'm assigned to homicide. Assigned to the homicide unit.
homicide. Have you received training in chemically processing crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
And do you participate on a regular basis in processing crime scenes?
I am present when CCBI is doing that. Yes, sir.
CCBI actually does the processing.
Correct.
You do the observing.
Correct.
Is that?
I am present at that time.
Right. In fact, you're turning it over to the people who are trained to do the actual physical examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you searched the Dodge Durango, did you make a list of everything that was observed in the Dodge Durango?
No, sir.
Did you personally look in the Dodge Durango for what was in there?
Yes, sir.
There were a lot of things in that Dodge Durango, weren't there?
Yes, sir.
In fact, it was loaded with baby materials and food and trays and videos. There were things everywhere in there, weren't there?
I wouldn't consider it overloaded. I'd say typical.
Typical of a Dodge Durango that's just brought 3 children back from Texas.
Yes, sir.
Would that be fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Were photographs taken of everything that was observed in that Dodge Durango?
No, sir.
In fact, there were only some very general photographs taken, weren't there?
Correct.
Kind of basically photographs of the outside and photographs of the inside standing from the window.
Correct.
you indicated that you obtained financial records for Amanda Hayes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, if you will, to go through exhibits 10 or 9 through 16 and ask you if you recognize those financial records.
These are defense exhibits 9 through 16.
Exhibits 9 through 16.
All right, thank you.
No, sir.
You don't recognize them?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you certain you obtained financial records for her?
When I obtained the records, they're either in email format or a CD or in mail, and I simply in turn turned them over to the lead detective. I did not examine them. I did not look at them.
I see. But when you said you obtained the records, what you meant was that you actually got them
Correct.
and gave them to someone else.
Correct.
So you don't know what's in them. Someone else knows what's in them.
Correct.
Okay. That's my mistake.
Briefly. Detective, you were asked some questions about whether things could be overlooked. All the information that you acquired is then given to supervisors who transmit that to other detectives. Is that accurate?
Supervisors or lead detective, yes, sir.
Okay. So you homicide detectives are all talking to each other through this process.
Correct. We meet regularly,
Okay. So
several times a day.
on that, when you first became involved in this investigation on the 24th, you were briefed by other detectives on what had been done, correct?
Correct.
And you had been given information that was acquired in Texas, and you were sending information to Texas so that they had as much recent information as you had.
Correct.
When you were searching that Dodge Durango, did you think it was loaded and just flippantly look through it and not pay attention?
No, sir.
Did you give it close, careful attention?
Absolutely.
And if you had found anything in there, would you have noted it?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
All right.
Detective Morris, did you participate in the third search or the 3 searches of the apartment at Bella Park Trail?
I know there were several searches done. The one that I assisted with was the one that occurred on July 25th at 7:05 p.m.
And on that day, there was contained in a stack of papers on the counter a manual for a reciprocating skill saw, wasn't it?
I'm aware of that. I'm just not sure if it was seized on that day when I was there.
It wasn't found at all on that day, was it?
I'm not familiar enough with that.
Are you aware that it was Shay Elmer who directed the Raleigh Police Department to that document more than a week later?
No, sir.
You don't know how it was found or how it was missed? Okay.
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. That's all I've got.
All right.
Detective, when you were doing that search, at that point, Laura's body had just, her torso had just been found, and y'all had no idea that a skill saw was involved in this murder, did you?
On that date, I'm assisting with that search is on July 25th at 7 o'clock in the evening. Body parts are being found on July 26th at 8:30 in the morning.
The
Became
next
aware of
morning,
it the next morning.
The
Right.
head was found, correct?
Correct.
And so at that point, Shay hadn't provided you any notice of a saw. You had no idea that these defendants had used a saw. Isn't that accurate?
I was not aware of that.
Nothing further.
And you also had no information that there was a manual for a reciprocating skill saw in that apartment, whether it had anything to do with anything or not, correct?
Like I said, I'm not aware of that manual, how it came to be, how it was found, when it was found.
If you were there, you didn't find it, correct?
I did not find a manual, no, sir.
Thank you, sir. That's all.
All right. Everybody through? All right. Thank you, officer. You can stand down. Did we finish your last witness?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that about it for today?
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, thank you. Was trying to get there without having to take a break. When we take a break, we kind of, lose a little time here. Sometimes we get kind of lost. All right, you've heard it all for the day, but not all for the case. So obviously, keep an open mind. Don't form or express any opinion about the guilt or innocence of the defendant or any matter in controversy. Be careful about your conduct. We're going to start again. Leave your notes in your chair. We're going to start again at 9:30 on Monday morning. Let me just remind everybody, there's a camera in the courtroom. The entire Raleigh community knows that this case is being tried. If they care enough to stay tuned, they have heard the witnesses, they've seen the evidence just like you have. So I'm sure you probably have a friend or acquaintance or somebody that you know that may know you're on the jury and also may know a lot about this case. And they may be just absolutely dying to tell you what they think and to help you. I'm not talking about any kind of person that's acting in some kind of inappropriate way in their mind, but they just may want to help you do the right thing. So y'all just need to be really careful that you don't let anybody express any kind of opinion to you about the case. Don't let anybody discuss it at all in your presence. Don't let anybody provide any information to you. There's so many ways in which people innocently can have an impact on you. If you go to church and you're in a Sunday school class and they know you're on the jury, don't let them pray for you in that Sunday school class, please. Simple things. Just don't let them do that. If they insist, I suggest you get up and walk out. All right? I'm not being ugly. I'm just telling you, don't let people do anything around you that it could influence your verdict in this case or could express to you either their concern of what they think about it, whether it's your roommate, spouse, loved one, neighbor, or anybody else. This is your decision based individually and collectively on what you hear in this courtroom, uninfluenced by any other factor. Just remember that. All right. Recall all my other instructions. Please abide by all my other instructions. See everybody at 9:30 on Monday morning. Thank you very much. Leave your notes in your chair. We'll see you at 9:30 Monday morning. Thank you. All right, the jury is absent. And folks, I use that example because that has occurred in cases tried in this courthouse. So jurors have to be really careful in all aspects of their life not to let anything like that happen to influence their verdict. All right, anything else? Let's see, you had a motion, didn't you?
I do, Your Honor. We filed a motion for a jury view, and Your Honor, we attempted to, first of all, I believe that this item, this vote, has probative value and that the jurors would be able to see where folks could sit with these coolers in it. The issue is that it's 12 feet long. We tried apparently to put it in an elevator, but it wouldn't fit. And so we'd ask that the jury be allowed to go someplace where they can look at it. And I don't know if we would have a witness testify about certain things while they're in the presence of that vote, but we'd leave it up to the court.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to have a witness testify in the presence of that boat. I mean, this is a 12-foot John boat. I mean, I'm sorry, but tell me again why it's just absolutely necessary that the jurors actually see this boat.
Your Honor, I would argue that it's incredibly probative that this 12-foot boat, this defendant claims to have a very limited role in the disposal of this body. But then that 12-foot boat loaded with these 4 coolers that you've seen would give the jury the impression of of how close she was to this action. I don't know what what the argument will be, but we seek to prove that her hands were dirty putting this body in the water. And if you see this boat and see the size of it and where folks would sit in the boat, it becomes very clear that you can't be willfully blind to what's going on, which seems to be somewhat of the defense thus far. And to rebut that and argue that, that's why we believe it's probative for the jury to see the boat with the coolers and have a sense of that it's not a lot of space there for this defendant not to have her hands dirty.
Your Honor, may I, with regard to the arrangements, if the court were to allow this jury view, there is a spot right off Martin Street, which is under the building, the parking lot, where the boat could be put there. There's an elevator that lets out, so it would be a situation where along this back hall to go to that elevator and go down, and then it would open up. The jury wouldn't have to go out the building, is what I'm saying. That's a secure area that wouldn't be open with people passing, or the opportunity for anybody to be walking through that area.
When do you propose to do this?
Monday. The witness's testimony that we would interrupt to do it would be one of the detectives from Texas who's going to be talking about these items that were recovered in Texas.
All right, I'll think about it. Defendant want to be heard?
Seems to me that a photograph would do just as well.
All right. Do you have photographs of this boat?
We do, Your Honor, of the boat, but it's at the scene there in Texas. And part of the probative value would be in getting a sense of with the coolers, the depth of how close these folks are together when they're disposing of this body. Yes, there are pictures of the boat, and there's, in full candor, there's also, if you remember the video of the scene, somebody walks down to the landing and videotapes around there, and so there's a little bit of a video of the boat as well.
Well, do you have photographs of the boat that I can see right now? I recall the boat. I recall the video. I recall it looks like a 12-foot John boat. It was processed. I just need to kind of reflect on that a minute. Sure. All right, anything else?
Whatever. If they want to look at the boat, we'll look at the boat.
All right, I understand. I'm just trying to get some concept of what we're looking at it, the productive value of it, and how we're going to do it. All right. I'll consider the request and may well allow it, but I will tell you that we'll allow it only under circumstances in which the boat is placed somewhere in this building. It's simply located there in the condition as it currently exists. We will adjourn this court to go to that location. The court reporter, the clerk, the bailiffs, the defendant, and the attorneys will go to that location. The jurors will be put in the jury room, and that after we get to that location, the bailiff will be instructed to bring the jurors down. I'll give the jurors some instructions that they can't talk about it, they can't discuss anything. We will take no testimony there. They'll be taken to that location. They will be shown, have the opportunity to look at the boat, the exhibit, walk around it, look at it, and then return to the jury room. There'll be no testimony taken, and then I'll note for the record what has occurred after the jury comes and after they leave. All right. Anything else? If there's a location in this building in which you can do that conveniently and efficiently, then I'll allow your request.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, it's about 25 after 4. Let's call it a week, and we'll start at 9:30 on Monday morning. Okay. Sure, be in recess to 9:30 Monday morning. Thank you.